May is a month of family. Did you know that? I guess maybe this may be a Korean thing, but I don't know. May has been, like there's a Children's Day and then Mother's Day and Father's Day, all that is in the May, so it's a month of family. And so typically the message that is regarded as family topic is joyful and happy and all that. But since because I have to wrap up 2 Samuel, I need to remain a little bit more serious in the message. But I'm gonna stay focused on family though. So today's series, the first series, I titled it Dysfunctional Family. So the series is titled Dysfunctional Family. And the first one is Amnon, a bud of unhappiness, is the sermon title. I was traveling with my siblings. 5 of us, my brother, 4 other brothers, including me, 5 of us went out to Korea and met 2 other siblings, one of my sister, one actually, I have only one sister, so my sister and another brother. So 7 of us, we went to Jeju Island. We were riding 45 people sitting bus, that was what we rented, with the driver in it. So we were going place to place in Jeju, and everybody was kind of like staring at us because it's a rare sight that 7 people that look alike. And you can imagine, like my family is most of them are like my size, and then they are kind of short, and then it sticks out, and they were watching. I can see the people were staring at us. And so we enjoy being together in Jeju Island, spend time with my family. So I was so blessed to think that God has given us such a wonderful family. And so that was another recognition of that, like, there's no family like mine, that be able to, I have 9 of us, my mother had 9 of us, and 7 of us were there, and two brothers, they couldn't go out from here, US, so all 7 of us were spending time together a couple of days, and it was first time in anybody's life. My siblings, we never had a chance to go travel together or anything like that. So this is first time for all of us, and we recognize how blessing it is. 9 siblings, none of us was sick, seriously, none of us were bad, this is like eldest one, the oldest one, he's 84, and then we had, and it's like, so my brother came with a wheelchair because he doesn't have one leg, and my sister was healthy, but her husband was with a cane. They were like 80, so it was a wonderful experience of having family. But one thing that I had noticed out of all this, the Korea has changed very rapidly. It became urbanized, right? Every corner of the streets of the cities in Korea was like high-rise buildings, everything, and in that, and what I have found was like the family value, the way that we remember the family used to be, wasn't there anymore. Okay, and then I was listening. We had an opportunity to share our family life and all that, and I realized even within my own family, every family, there was an issue within. And so this word came up in my mind. It's like dysfunctional family. No one was safe from this disease, and even in my family, even in my wife's family, even in every family had issue, some sort of. Even though we seem very happy and be able to go around places and spend time together with 7 siblings, same time, I mean, it's a rare thing, even in Korea. A lot of people were touring by group, I noticed, but they were all in their age group. It was all women, and it's like club-like, right? But it was rare to see the whole family coming places and touring. And even though I was so happy to have my happy family, But I was sad to realize, even in the midst of this happy family, I have noticed dysfunctionality within. And that's why I decided to talk about this. And of course, King David's family. Wow. It has an issue. It has an issue. So let's look into this, the story of King David's family. I titled it, Amnon, a bud of unhappiness. This man became a bud of unhappiness for the family of David. Let's read these verses. Let's begin. When King David heard all this, he was furious. And Absalom never said a word to Amnon, either good or bad. He hated Amnon because he had disgraced his sister Tamar. 2 years later, when Absalom's sheep shears were at Baal-hazor, near the border of Ephraim, he invited all the king's sons to come there. Absalom went to the king and said, "Your servant has had shears come. Will the king and his attendants please join me?" "No, my son," the king replied. "All of us should not go. We would only be a burden to you." Although Absalom urged him, he still refused to go, but gave him his blessing. Then Absalom said, "If not, please let my brother Amnon come with us." The king asked him, "Why should he go with you?" But Absalom urged him, so he sent with him Amnon and the rest of the king's sons. Absalom ordered his men, "Listen, when Amnon is in high spirit from drinking wine, and I say to you, strike Amnon down, then kill him. Don't be afraid. Haven't I given you this order? Be strong and brave." Excuse me. So Absalom's men did to Amnon what Absalom had ordered. Then all the king's sons got up and mounted their mules and fled. While they were on their way, the report came to David, "Absalom has struck down all the king's sons. Not one of them is left." The king stood up, tore his clothes, and lay down on the ground, and all his attendants stood by with their coat torn. But Jonadab, son of Shimei, David's brother, said, "My lord should not think that they kill all the prince. Only Amnon is dead. This has been Absalom's express intention ever since the day Amnon raped his sister Tamar. My lord the king should not be concerned about the report that all the king's sons are dead. Only Amnon is dead." You see, 2 Samuel chapter 13 verse 1 starts like this, in the course of time. What has happened is David has committed great sin that we all heard about, of how he took Bathsheba away from his husband, Uriah. And in the course of that time, after that, we know God has a rendered judgment upon David king. And he heard what will happen to him. And so everything that is happening in this part of the story is actually caused by whose sin? David's sin. Even though we can simply say, well, it's all caused by King David, and there we go, it's his problem. But you know what's happening? Actually, even though God do his things according to his plan, according to his dispensation, all his grandeur, sovereignty in life of human history, every person within are given same opportunity to make right decision and choices. Even though we can simply say, it is because of my father, or it is because of my mother, I'm this way. I'm suffering. I'm struggling. I fail. And your excuses, my excuses, maybe has some meat in it. But the bottom line is this. What God is doing is He's asking each one of us to make right choices and right decisions. Right here in the story of David's family, we can see three things. that causes dysfunctionality in the family. The first is that the rest of men who have lost their self-control. When we say the rest of a man, is this a normal thing or abnormal thing? The desire of flesh, is that a normal thing? How would you say? The desire of flesh, is this normal? It is a normal thing. It is. So having a rest in mind, what's come to your mind, and because of physical and mental, whatever aspect of life, it is a normal thing. And so what it is what we need is the self-control that it is need. How to deal with it is what matters. Those who lose the self-control over his or her, the rest is what's causing the problem in the dysfunctionality of the family. We know King David had that issue. Because of him, we can simply say this all happened. Now here, today's story, we are encountering a man, and he's causing a big problem in the family of David. But what we ought to understand is then why did David's family fall into this struggle? It's because David had many wives. Do you know how many wives he had? King David? At least 8 that we know of. 8. But every one of them, he married them with reason. A lot of reason is for him to survive. A lot of reason that he married these people, the wives, is because he wanted to use them as a shield for the other enemies not to attack him. And so he was using all that. But the thing is, the sons of these wives, born out of them, and can you imagine the struggles and conflicts among them? By nature, this is how it is built in the family of David. No wonder he's going to struggle so much. So today's story, we definitely witnesses what's happening here. Here, you are encountering the man's name, what's his name? Absalom and his sister Tamar, and then the problem maker Amnon. You have to understand, Amnon is son of David's second wife, Ahinoam. Now, first wife of David is Michal. And actually, she is the daughter of King Saul. But what happened is King Saul did not trust David, and he became enemy to David, and he took away his daughter and gave away to another man. So Michal, she married to another man. And so David never had a chance to have a family with her. And so Ahinoam is the second wife, but actually she's the first wife David had built his home with. And so the Amnon is actually the son of Ahinoam, and he is the first son of King David. So Amnon, the troublemaker here in this story, is who? The first son of King David. And Absalom and Tamar, as actually they're the children of David's fourth wife, Maacah. Well, what happened was the whole problem is beginning in this way. Amnon fell in love with this girl named Tamar. But happened to be this girl is his half-sister. In Israel's law or any standard law, this is no. And Amnon knew this. And he knew there's nothing he can do about it, so that's why he became sick. And then he fell on the bed, sick bed, basically. But he had a friend. And he came by and he found out about the secret of this unknown guy that he loved, his own sister. But this friend was very sly. He recommended not to be shy away from this desire, but he recommended how to get to her. And so literally he coached him to fake his sick bed and have his father come to the bed and then ask him to bring the girl that Amnon was in love with to take care of Amnon. And so Amnon thought that was a good idea, and he went with that idea, and he faked more, and this news got out of the palace, and Father David heard about this first son of his first son was sick in the bed. So he came, and Amnon say, can you bring my sister Tamar to come and help me, and help have her feed me food and stuff that she's making. Well, of course, that David, father, who had no idea about what's going on, allowed that and commanded Tamar, sister, to come and take care of the sick son of David. And she came. And she was helping Amnon and eating food by cooking the food and all that. But while this was happening, the story is unfolded, and then Amnon raped her, his own sister. I mean, can you imagine that we now read about this kind of stories in the Bible, Holy Scripture? Well, what's happening is after this whole thing happened, and some reason Amnon hated her now. And so he yelled at her to get out of his house. And Tamar was so furious that whatever he did to her, and now he's kicking her out to the street. But Amnon was out of his mind. Literally made his servant to kick her out of his house and then lock the gate so that she cannot come in. And now she poured the ashes on her head and then tore her clothes and crying and walking down the street, not knowing where to turn to. And this people have witnessed. And obviously, what could happen to her, right? People kind of right away knew. And then that news got to her brother, Absalom. And so Absalom came quickly and bring her into a house and asked her, was Amnon with you? It was a very simple question. And he found out what had happened. And then Absalom told her not to tell anybody about this because this have done by her own brother. But Absalom kept this hatred toward Amnon, but he began to harbor a plan to kill Amnon. So 2 years he planned it. And one day there was the sheep shearers. You know what that is? It's a day to harvest the wool from the sheep. And normally, because of the harvest is a celebration, they have a party going on. And Absalom come to David, his father, say, Father, come to this day of feast, because my sheep shearer is coming and then we'll do the harvest. And then, David said, no, there's no point, I need to go there. The thing is, by this time, King David, the father, he also knew what happened to his daughter Tamar, but he didn't do anything. And so after that instant, 2 years later, Absalom is carrying out his plan. And then he asked David to, allow all his sons, all the prince of Israel to come and join him. And in the beginning, David kind of refused, but eventually he gave in, and then all the sons of David attended this feast, Absalom's plan, and they came. And so Absalom's plan is very simple. He said, when Amnon was so happy because he was drunk, just struck him down. That was the order to his servant, and his servant carried that out, literally during the party time. And Absalom's servant came in and struck down the Amnon. And then obviously all the other sons of David, they fled, right? This news carried on, and then David heard all his sons were struck down by Absalom. And so he cried and torn down his clothes and all that, but actually Jonadab, the friend of Amnon, told the king, no, actually all the other princes, they are okay. It's only the Amnon who has been dead probably, because Absalom had planned this since his sister Tamar was raped by Amnon. And so now the King David had understood what was happening. Absalom fled to his mother's home. Fled there. You see, what's happening is here. Why is Absalom revenge for her sister? In very likely scenario is that Absalom has all the reasons to revenge for his sisters, right? But what's happening is that's not the real reason. Absalom is the third son of King David. The second son of King David actually already had passed away. And Amnon, I already explained that he is the first son of King David. So if Absalom get rid of first son of King David, who is in the line of kingship when King David passes? It's him himself. And so Absalom's plan it's not about actually revenge for his own sister, but what it is a scheme to revolt against his own father. And so that is what's happening here. He could not control his ambition. He forgot who he is, brothers to all these Prince of David. And he was forgetting the fact that he's son of King David. But he was growing with the ambition to the throne that he decided to strike down the Amnon. This whole idea of what is happening in the family of David is very unbelievable. How can this happen? Can you imagine that? Do you know any family in real life situation that anything happened like this? Maybe in the movie. But can you comprehend? How is this possible? Why is it God decided to put this story in the Bible and somehow put it before our eyes and we read about it? I mean, like, if non-believer read this, like they say, even holy book talks about this kind of stuff, right? You will not understand how to explain this whole thing. But I think this is a warning to all of us. Even the David's family, in this scale of evil deed, is happening. But if you were to think about it, maybe it's not to this scale of problem, but every family has exhibiting the symptom of dysfunctionality in our families. And that's what I realized in this trip. We're so happy that we have displayed this, harmony of this family, 7 of us traveling and spend time together, and it's so great. We're so blessed. Yet as we are sharing life story one by one, we realize every one of us, our families, we had what? dysfunctionality within the family. Mine, no exception. My elder brother's family, my sister's family, every family had an issue. There was a dysfunctionality. Maybe the scale is different, but it is there. You know, the last day that I was departing from Seoul to come here, my sister's daughter came to see all of us. And I haven't seen her for like almost 35 years. Somehow she didn't come to all the meetings that I was there with her family. She always misses. But somehow this time she took her own time to come to see us. And then it struck my mind when she shared one of a story of her own life. She was sitting in the car and her dad and mom was driving and they were arguing and fighting and they talking about divorce and all that. So they were yelling, you know, let's divorce and this, that, and then father said, I'll take the first one. And then mother said, okay, I'll take the last one. And she was sitting in the middle of this car, listening to what they were arguing and fighting. She wasn't concerned about their divorcing, but this got into her in her mind. She's listening, okay, the first one will go with the father, but the last one will go with the mother. How about me? As mom and dad were arguing, fighting, they didn't even mention about her. Only the first one, only the last one. You know, she had three of them. First, second, and third. And she's in the middle. And that fight got stuck into her mind. And as she's sharing this, she has grown up. Children of home. They're all in the age of college. And she's now about 52 or something. And she's sharing this life story. Mom and Dad, I remember this. And it's just like that life story. I mean, you individual probably, I mean, like even my own kid probably would have those kind of moments. And every family has this functionality. Not like King David, we said, okay, so I'm safe. No. We are still exposed to the dysfunctionality. What I have noticed this trip is that we all have the same issue. But one thing actually out of this trip, wonderful thing happened. My father-in-law have actually opened up his heart. Actually, he sang hymns with us and he prayed with his own eyes. First time I noticed. I've been married to my wife for 35 years. He never went to church by on his head, leg, you know. He always drove his wife to the church, but he never went in there. As far as concerned, he never went to the church on his own way. I never knew, and actually my wife's prayer request was that, we didn't know he had faith in God or not. He used to go to church. But this time we met him in the hospital. He spent his 1 year of life in the hospital. And somehow as we are inviting him to come pray with us and then worship with us, he opened me. And what I noticed is that he fully surrendered everything and he began to reveal himself. I think he already had faith in Jesus Christ. He just didn't want to go to church. He didn't want to be called to be a Christian. Even though his wife was very faithful believers. He didn't want to go. Why do you think he didn't want to go? I mean, I didn't ask him. But I think I know the answer. Why do you think he didn't want to go to church? Because he doesn't want to deal with all the misdeeds of the believers. Because he knows too much what it is happening, even in the church. He knew too much that even the believers are failing, not living up to the Word of God. I mean, we were so, joyful knowing that he had faith in God. Now he surrendered everything. He just opened up himself and he revealed his faith in Jesus Christ. He was so happy. But what I learned that is that last 35 years, what made him so closed in his family? I mean, can you imagine? Husband doesn't want to go to church, and smoking and drinking, and the wife only goes to the church. Faithful. What struggle is this? It's all part of dysfunctionality. And this kind of symptom is everywhere, even in your life, even in my life, even in my family, even in your family. King David is teaching us that our families that should be built by God's understanding, God's insights. But it is degenerating into a dysfunctional family because we, members of the family, lose our original self-control over the desire of the wrong desire. We lose in morality in what we do. And then we lose our true identity because we have our ambition. And that's what David's family is teaching us. That maybe getting a job, maybe getting a degree is important. Maybe work hard and save money is important. But what I realized, but it is important to bring peace in the family. It is important to bring family together. And actually for us, my family was very fortunate. It was my elder brother initiated this piecing opportunity. Because he was there, we met all other people and who we didn't see before because they just didn't want to see. Because of their own way, right? They're all struggling with their own miscommunication and misunderstanding and misdeed, and all these caused the family to be divided. All the families within countryside that my brother who lived in countryside didn't get to meet them because they didn't like them, because some reason. But they all came to see us and the peace came. And I realized as I'm preparing this message, it's like, yeah, my family is not like King David's family. But it was no different. Every individual within the family is still struggling because of whatever dysfunctionality in the family. And I realized, who to fix this? Maybe you can blame my ancestors. Right? David's son say, okay, it's my father, David's problem. And actually, literally, the author of this, 2 Samuel said, it's David's sin. And it is God's judgment on that. But every member of the family of David, still God gave them a choice for them to make right choices. But they failed. I think it is same for us. You and I maybe can simply sit here saying, blame it on your ancestor. You blame on your dad and mom. You blame on your sister or your brother. Or you blame on your employer or whatever, your friend, you know. But that does not give you the freedom from what you have decided, what you have done. You see, that we need to continue to know who we are. We as an individual, we stand before God on our own, right? God's gonna ask, what did you do? Where have you been? Not who were you with. And it is an individual thing, and it is that we need to maintain our self-control. It is that we need to maintain morality. We need to maintain our self-identity. Who can fix the problem we have? That's beginning with us, I realize. If we have a problem that is caused by others, I realized it wasn't somebody else's problem. I realized it is my problem. And it is my problem because I am the one who can fix it. And the family issue, we as believers, we cannot ignore it. Okay? We cannot think that God will magically somehow fix it. But what God is doing to us is that we need to proactively make decisions and invest our time and efforts to bring reconciliation. And so that's the challenges that I can live to you. If somehow you have some issue with anybody, the moment you realize you have an issue, probably you know it is you who can fix this. Because so often the other person doesn't even realize there's an issue. So often the other person will not even know there had been an issue. And so that's the challenges. David's family, they are going to continuously show us their family is broken. It is all defects everywhere. But you know what? What amazes me is in the midst of all this, David had remained that God's favor was upon him. This is a mystery of our faith. And it's, to me, if somehow you and I, we understand how God dealt with us, such a sinful man like David and such a simple man like you and I mean, that's how we realize once we live everything who we are and surrender to Him, that God takes care. And to me, that is a wonderful thing. God doesn't make us perfect. God doesn't make us a flawless, but yet He accepts us as it is. As it is. And to me, is a wonderful grace of God. And with that grace, that we build our families, the same grace and mercy that we need to render to those around us. And hopefully, we proactively become a member who can bring the peace to every relationship within. And somehow, we can someday witness this, our family come together and become very harmonious and happy. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly